Hello everyone, and welcome to a presentation by Jeff Hooker and Dennis Bingham on generating software test cases. What are test cases? A test case is a series of actions that are executed to verify the functionality of a specific feature or application. What should exist in each test case? A test case should contain a title or ID, test steps, test data, some preconditions, and some postconditions. Here's an example of a test case. In this example, an ATM is being tested. It has an identification as test case number 2.2. The preconditions are a user has to have an ATM card and it has to be valid, and the card has also been placed in the ATM. The user's current PIN is 1234, and the system is on and displaying the main menu. The test steps and data are: the user should click the change PIN button, and we are looking for the system to display a message asking the user to enter their new PIN number. The user should then enter 5555. The system should display a message asking the user to confirm the new PIN by re-entering that PIN. The user should re-enter the PIN 5555, and the system displays a message that the operation was successful and asks the user if they would like to perform any other operations. And then they click yes, and the system should take them back to the main menu. If everything has gone according to plan, then the new PIN of 5555 should be saved within the database.
Let's go ahead and talk about some of the upsides of generating test cases. Here we see some of the benefits for generating and using test cases in software development. The first big one is that using test cases allows for developers to ensure that their software complies within existing guidelines. Test cases also enable developers to make sure that their software can handle both false positives as well as false negatives when it comes to test failures. Additionally, by using scenarios, the developers can use hypothetical stories to try to work out how a typical user would use their software, and then test to ensure that those most common situations will work. Using scenarios can also help to create situations that the developers didn't originally plan for, such as a user who is trying to do something unexpected or malicious. As testing becomes more commonplace, we have seen that developers tend to turn to automated testing, especially if the tests are done on software that will be used again and again, or that will have multiple versions developed out of it. These automated tests allow developers to verify that any changes to the software will work the way that it is expected to, while also doing regression testing to ensure that any aspects of the software that haven't changed still work the way that it was designed. Another aspect that we see in these tests is that they can also be done to initiate stress testing or overall performance testing. An example could be that a user might try clicking on a link multiple times due to impatience, and these types of tests will be able to verify that the system will be able to handle those situations as they hope that it will. Next, we'll see some of the downsides to generating test cases. Here we have a few of the unfortunately inevitable downsides to generating test cases. One main argument is that they are time-consuming to create, with some projects having their timeframes bloated significantly due to the time needed to develop the tests. Developing tests takes time from first thinking up the test situation or scenario to then either deciding on manual or automatic testing, depending on whether or not the test will be run more than once, and then finally documenting everything in a log that an average user wouldn't even look at in the first place. Another issue is that they might not catch all outlier problems, since the tests are developed by the developers, so their opinions and thought processes can be biased. The developers simply may not think of all possible combinations of things that the users could do. One thing that has been seen is that some experienced developers might miss problems or bugs that might stand out to more inexperienced users. For example, maybe a user doesn't know that you have to go into a specific submenu to change a particular setting in an app. So, lack of knowledge-based problems like these can be completely missed due to the developers knowing every part of their program too well. One of the biggest problems, though, is that since the tests are created by humans, there's always the chance that the test could contain an error or not account for an aspect of the program, which would lead to many false positives or false negatives, depending on what the developers were testing at the time. Now that we've gone over the upsides and downsides to generating test cases, let's go over the overall effectiveness of their use. While it may at times take lots of time to develop the tests and they may contain errors, the overall effectiveness of generating and using test cases is a net positive result. We read in the Bursoff article from a few weeks ago about how the quality assurance aspect and the testing and evaluation aspect of software development each cover testing to a degree. We know that testing during development is covered under the quality assurance aspect, while testing after completion or near to completion is covered by the testing and evaluation aspect. These aspects together can ensure that programs are working the way that they are supposed to, which is the main key point of generating and using test cases. Using the test cases also tends to increase the quality of the software by ensuring that any major issues or bugs are caught early, so they can be patched or corrected. For example, most programs that require users to create passwords and accounts that connect to secure SQL databases tend to ensure their input is sanitized to prevent SQL injection breaches. One of the major selling points that we have researched for this presentation is that releasing untested and potentially unreliable software into the world can be much more problematic than taking the time to develop proper tests and ensuring that the program actually does what it is intended to do. Letting developers make sure that the code they write actually works tends to be a good idea in the long run, even if it does take time to make those tests.